Hey everyone, it is Nux, and we are here for my Nintendo E3 2018 review. As you know, usually I give it a little time and then do my review for E3 after everything's all cleared up and all that craziness is over. And it is now that time to do the review and talk about Nintendo's E3 presence this year. So, first I'm going to talk about my expectations going into the show, then just go over the show as a whole, note by note, by my notes here, and then just give a conclusive review or score at the end. Yeah, that's what I mean, score. But thing to note here, I'm not going to do it like I've done in the past where I go like beat by beat and do this whole crazy ranking system. I'm just going to give you my general thoughts and give you a rough score that just comes from the top of my head. Alright, without any further ado, let's start. So one thing I should note is that there are two games that were presented in this show that I'm not going to go into super deep detail, and that is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And I'm not going to go into deep detail on those games because I have separate videos planned for both Pokemon and Smash Bros. That are going to be dedicated all to those. And those will be very detailed and long videos, and I don't want to drag this video out to be super long because it's a review. You should just get my basic thoughts from the review, all that stuff. Let's go ahead and start. Okay, so going into this E3, my expectations were a little mixed at first, but at the same time, I was going into this E3 initially with pretty high expectations. 2018, for the most part, had been really dry in that first half of the year, like I had talked about in my direct review video and in social media. Basically, this period of the year had been super dry. It had some games, you had stuff like Kirby, and you had a few ports and stuff, but yeah, this year was way too reliant on ports. It didn't have many new games, and even though I mentioned before that I didn't have a super big problem with ports beforehand, I was mostly okay with it because the new games are definitely still coming, and this E3 was the main thing I was looking towards because I was expecting Nintendo to go into this E3 with quite a few games. There were a lot of games not only confirmed, but just in general acknowledged that we could expect. Like, there were all sorts of things we could expect to be surprised with, things that we knew for sure were going to be on this show, and all that stuff. So there was no reason to go into this show with any lower expectation at all. There's no reason to lower it. You should be able to go into an E3 with high expectations, and this is something that I keep telling Nintendo fans, that you should be able to go into E3 with high expectation. I'm so sick of E3 losing value more and more over the years, especially when the Nintendo Directs aren't always hit out the parks. They're hit or miss, really. And so E3 should be that time that should be a guaranteed hit. At least that was my expectations before the day before E3. So the night before E3, I can't exactly remember, but sometime literally just before E3, a well-known leaker by the name of Liam Robinson said that go into Nintendo's Direct with low expectations. He said this just before the Direct was about to begin. And so I saw that and I was like, oh no. Like, I was absolutely disgusted because how should we go into this Direct with low expectations? There's not many games for the rest of the year. 2018 so far has been pretty weak, so we should be able to expect some games going into this E3, right? Right? Well, let's talk about the E3. So the E3 begins and it starts with a game called Daemon X Machina. And essentially what this is it's a game about robots fighting, and it had this crazy heavy metal music going on, and it looked all cool and stuff. It definitely intrigued my interest, but it just kind of felt, I don't know, off that this is the game that starts the entire presentation. Like usually when Nintendo starts a presentation, they start it with an introduction or a game that is very big and very forefront. But this was just kind of a weird little game that they just announced out of nowhere for this E3, and it led the show, and it was just kind of weird. It was just a weird structure to me, and that's going to be a reoccurring thing throughout this Direct. Basically, I think this Direct was very weirdly structured. The structure of it was very poor, and it also factors into a big reason why I didn't really like this year's Direct. So after Daemon X Machina, we get a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 DLC, which is about the Golden Country and all that crazy stuff. I haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because I still have wanted to try the series, but I've wanted to try the earlier games. And I'm thinking of maybe if the earlier games get ported or something, I might try that. But I don't have Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I know nothing really about it, so I'm just kind of like, okay. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is okay. Like, for those who like it, it's a good thing. So I will count it as a good thing for them. It is good that they are getting DLC for that, and they got their DLC. But that also kind of plays into a complaint I'm going to have a little later. So after that, we get a Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee update. Essentially, I've been kind of on and off with this game. I'm just like, okay, it's Pokemon. It's there. And I've just been keeping an eye on it, but I'm not really in the buy zone with it, essentially. It's kind of just exists for me. I'm more so looking forward to that Generation 8 Pokemon game next year. I'm more so looking forward to that. But Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, I am keeping an eye on because I am a general Pokemon fan, and I'm interested in what exactly this is going to do. But the thing is, when I saw Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, I assumed that they were going to do a decent announcement, something that felt very interesting at the very least, because even though Pokemon has never had the greatest E3 presence, usually when Pokemon does pop up, they tend to announce something that's very eye-catching. Like, for example, when Oraz popped out in that one E3, they announced the Mega Evolutions for the other starters. So I was expecting something on that level. But the only thing we really got was an update about the Pokeball Plus and how Mew is inside of it. And if you buy the Pokeball Plus, you can get access to Mew. And literally that was kind of just it. It was just a recap of the game saying Mew is in the Pokeball Plus, go buy that. And I was like, okay. Like that just kind of happened. So I was like, yeah. So that didn't really do anything. So after Pokemon, we get one of the first really interesting games to me that actually catches my eye, and that is of Super Mario Party. Now, when I saw this and I saw Mario spinning the dice block, my immediate thought was, please, for the love of God, be a good Mario Party, because we've had Mario Party games, constantly. Mario Party isn't like a series that's like gone off the face of the earth and a new one is that crazy. Now, Mario Party is typically a common thing for Nintendo, so Mario Party isn't exactly mind-blowing, and it's not something that should be a big highlight of the show, but it was something that caught my eye because I am a lover of Mario Party. I really love playing Mario Party with my siblings and family and all sorts of stuff. But the problem is the Mario Party has been on a decline for the longest. The 3DS Mario Party games were god-awful, and the console Mario Party games have just decreased in quality drastically. So essentially, Mario Party as a series to me has not had my respect for a long time. However, this one is starting to make it look like they've slowly learned their lesson, because immediately what I noticed is that there was no car and that they brought back traditional boards with buying stars, coins, all that sort of thing. And that caught my attention because it's like, oh, it's actually the traditional Mario Party formula, and it's actually straying away from that god-awful formula they should have left a long time ago. And that caught my attention. I was like, okay, so Super Mario Party has my attention now, because it looks like it's starting to fix the flaws of previous Mario Party games. But just because it has no card, that doesn't exactly mean it's going to be a good Mario Party. Because again, think about it. We have the 3DS Mario Parties where they don't have the car mechanic, but they're the worst Mario Party games in the entire franchise. And for the reason that they rely on these horrible gimmicks, they don't stick to the love of the game board, which is what drives the drive of Mario Party. Like, all that is what makes Mario Party great. The boards, the stars and coins, and the messing around with all that, the mini games after that. Like, that's what makes Mario Party. And I have a skeptical feeling with this one. Like, it definitely is going back to the traditional formula. It's doing things the older Mario Party games did. But I'm not 100% on board because I don't know if they're going to pull a fast one and the mechanics are still going to be very weak and things of that nature. But we will have to wait and see. One big thing about this game, though, is that This game has online, but it's for the minigames only. Like, basically, you can play the minigames online, but there's no online for the party mode, which so close yet so far, because people want to be able to play the party mode online. And yes, I know everyone argues that doesn't make any sense. Like, you know how many people would rage quit and bad connections and things of that nature? Well, no one wants the party mode with randoms, that's for sure. That would not work. But people have wanted a friends only like party mode with online for a long time. I've even mentioned it a few times in some older videos. But essentially, that's what I want for Mario Party. But I suppose it having any kind of online is a miracle in itself. So, baby steps, I guess. But the issue I have with Nintendo is they are way too slow with these stupid baby steps. Like, they could simply look at the community of each franchise and pick up things super fast if they would just take the time to look instead of being super stubborn. That's what I don't like about Nintendo. They're way too slow in learning things. But aside from that, Super Mario Party looks decent, I guess. I'm not saying it's like this crazy new Mario Party that has me 100% hype and is a really good thing of the show, but it's definitely a plus because it's a Mario Party that doesn't actually look garbage, for now at least. So after Super Mario Party, we actually get our first big first party reveal in this entire Direct. Like, we get that first real big new surprise kind of reveal, and that is in the new Fire Emblem for the Nintendo Switch. And I see this and I'm like, finally, maybe now we're going to start seeing these big games that we all expected to see. And the name of the game is called Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I'm not really feeling the name. At first, I thought the name sounded dumb. I'm like, Three Houses, like what? But apparently the house thing kind of refers to a like clan style thing, like ninja clans or something like that. And in that sense, that sounds a little cooler. It's like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Maybe Three Clans would have sounded better, but maybe not. I don't know. It's just a weird name for me. It's not the most catchy Fire Emblem name. Aside from that, the gameplay looked alright. The gameplay looked pretty good. It's what you would expect from Fire Emblem, and it does have a few new interesting mechanics, it seems like. There's these things based on the army where you do these formations and such, and that definitely seems like it could be interesting. The general premise and the look of the game is what kind of didn't really knock me off my feet. Like, the general look of it kind of felt, mostly very anime-y. It didn't have anything unique that caught my immediate attention. There were a few moments in there, definitely, that were like, oh, that's cool, but really, I'm not a diehard Fire Emblem fan, so that trailer didn't really do anything super crazy for me. It definitely looks interesting, and I may consider picking up if the reviews and stuff for it are really good. But other than that, it's Fire Emblem, and I'm glad that it was here at the show. However, there is some bad news with Fire Emblem. The thing with Fire Emblem is that I was fully expecting it to be a 2018 game because it was still listed for 2018, and it seemed like it was in a decent development cycle, but the thing was, we had not really seen this Fire Emblem game for a while, so that kind of gave a clue that maybe they were putting a little more time into it than we thought was needed. But the issue is, this Fire Emblem game has been delayed to 2019, so it's like, oh, that's not good. That's one less game for the year. And at first, you wouldn't think that this isn't really a bad thing. Surely they have plenty more games they can pull from for the rest of 2018. Surely they do. I'm going to jump out the flow of the Direct, but what was also confirmed delayed for 2019 was the Yoshi game. Basically, this Yoshi game, once again, is going through the same development hell that Yoshi's Woolly World went through. So both Yoshi and Fire Emblem pushed to 2019. So I'm like, well, crap. That's two big games that I had expected to be here that got completely pushed to another year with little information given about them. Well, Fire Emblem had a trailer, but Yoshi pretty much had 0 to nothing. So it was like, alright, that's interesting. So after that, after Fire Emblem, They showed a quick trailer for Fortnite. We see that. It had already been leaked prior to the show. We knew about it. It was available immediately after Direct, and it's just Fortnite. It's a really popular game right now that they're getting out there. I personally really don't care much for Fortnite. It just kind of exists. But it is a good thing to have on the Switch because it's very popular, and it's a good thing to get out there. So after that, we have an indie reel. They focus on a few indie games that are coming to the Nintendo Switch, such as Overcooked 2, Killer Queen Black, Hollow Knight, things of that nature. And these are all games that we also knew were coming because they had, once again, been leaked prior to the show, which is a really bad thing. You'll notice that leak season this year especially was very, very bad. So it resulted in a lot of games barely being surprising and things of that nature. So leak culture definitely kind of ruined that. But at the same time, again, these are also indies. These are just kind of indie games. I also know that some games like Hollow Knight, I think, came out a while ago. So these aren't exactly new games. They're not super new games. They're more so ports coming to the Nintendo Switch. So it's just like, oh, okay. So after that, we got a update for Octopath Traveler. There's a new demo out for it where you can play the chapters for some of the other characters. I may just go play that right after this review. But otherwise, yeah, another update on Octopath Traveler. They also talked about it at Square's conference a little bit, but it was really good to get a nice little recap for that. So after that indie reel, we get a final montage, which basically outlines what their 2018 software is like. And it's just a few general games. We see some things like the Captain Toad port, which is coming soon. We see some indie titles, some third-party stuff, variety of things. DBZ Fighters is coming to Switch. Lots of interesting games and gets. Nothing that's too heavy-hitting, but a lot of really interesting games. And I'm like, okay, this is really cool. So now, soon, we should be able to see these big heavy hitters that we were expecting at this Direct very soon, correct? And what led me to believe that it was getting close to that time is when, I'm not sure if he's the president or who exactly he is. His name is Shinya Takahashi. I think that's how you might pronounce his name. I might have butchered it. But basically, he came in and did this intro saying that Nintendo is working hard on their games. And I was like, okay, so and then he said that he was going to transition into a big game. And I was assuming that we would transition and start looking into some of the bigger games, right? Nope. Because what he transitions into is Sakurai's intro, which leads basically into the full reveal of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I'm not going to go in super detail with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm just going to give my general thoughts for the sake of this review. And basically, let me just say that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate looks good. It looks really good. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate looks insanely crazy. Like, not only do you have all these awesome changes with the costumes and the characters and things of that nature, it's this really great game that feels like a celebration of Smash Bros. As a series. And bringing back every character, oh my god, we're going to talk about all that. But essentially, Smash Bros., in my opinion, knocked it out the park. Between the reveal of Ridley and all that sort of stuff, really great. But there's a problem. Even though I think the Smash stuff was great and knocked it out of the park, the Smash stuff took up the rest of the Direct. It was like 25 minutes of non-stop Smash. And even though I love Smash and I loved every minute of that Smash segment, it went on for half of the Direct. So half of the Direct was just kind of all this small talk, and then the Smash carried the rest. And it just ended. Yeah, so this is a big, big, big problem, because when that Direct ended, even though I was blown away by Smash's presentation, that was extremely lacking. Because let's talk about this Direct. Essentially what this Direct was split into was two parts. You have the Smash segment, which essentially was like a little Smash Direct in a way. And then you have the other half, which is essentially what their actual E3 presentation was. And when you don't look at Smash and you look at what Nintendo actually had for their E3 presentation, it was kind of weak. It was extremely weak. Like, they mostly talked about games we already knew about or were leaked beforehand, We did see Fire Emblem, and that was kind of a plus, but it got pushed all the way back to 2019. And on top of that, we didn't see Yoshi, which also was confirmed, pushed back to 2019. And the only really big kind of surprise game was Super Mario Party, which it's cool that they have a Mario Party going back to the traditional formula, but why is Mario Party the one new surprise you have of your show? Like, I love Mario Party, but Mario Party of all things shouldn't be carrying any kind of weight like that. Like, it's completely ridiculous how many games we're missing. I was like, surely there has to be something we're missing, right? What exactly are we missing here? Because let's talk about what exactly is missing. So, games that we are missing. We got nothing on Animal Crossing, not a peep on Animal Crossing. Yoshi was missing again, and it got delayed to 2019. Metroid Prime, zip, nada. The only thing we got on that was a quote from Reggie talking about how, oh, we'll show it when it's ready. We'll show it when it's ready. And I'm like, oh, okay. Retro Studios, 0 to nothing. Pokemon Gen 8. Now, people are angry that Pokemon Gen 8 wasn't shown, but actually I was okay with this because this was actually already confirmed. This was confirmed that we would not see Pokemon Gen 8 until next year. And most likely they just want to keep the hype focused on Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee right now. So Pokemon Gen 8, I'm actually not mad about that because I expected that to not be here. We won't see that till next year for sure. And I'm okay with that. But then we also didn't see next level games. We didn't see if they were working on anything. And remember how I mentioned that the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 DLC was kind of bittersweet? That's because while we did get DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where in God's name was the Mario Odyssey DLC or the Kirby Star Allies DLC? Like, that's something for sure I thought was coming, especially the Kirby Star Allies DLC, because they had been giving updates on that leading into E3, so I was expecting a blowout at E3. They revealed 2 new characters with Darroach and Dark Meta Knight, and there's this last character, again, Data Mines, you know who it is, I was expecting to be revealed at E3 with a full trailer for Wave 2, and then we got nothing. Like it literally just dropped off with nothing. No DLC for either of those games, and they're both big games for the Switch. Then on top of that, we didn't even get any Wii U ports like I predicted. No ports were really at the show. Like, people complain, oh, ports. They weren't even that at this show. So I was like, oh, okay. Nothing on the 3DS, no updates on that. It just kind of was nothing. No Bayonetta. We did get Octopath Traveler again, but it was kind of just a small update. Nothing too crazy. And of course, no basic functionality updates for the overall Switch OS. So there was a lot missing. Like, usually I would kind of cut some things slack for an E3, but this was ridiculous, man. Why was so many games missing? Like, no Animal Crossing, no updates for Retro, even though they've been working on this game for 4 to 5 years now. Where in God's name are these games? And I know what people are going to say, all the sorts of excuses that they're going to bring out. Like, oh, we could see these games later at a Nintendo Direct. They're just saving these games for later. And it's like, who cares? I'm so tired of this save these games for later mentality when there are multiple months in this year, and in the year as a whole, there have been months that have been dry with no games. And it's like, what is going on? Like, Nintendo is a $1 billion video game company. They are dedicated to video games, and they are a $1 billion company with unlimited resources, not only in their own department, but they have access to third parties. They have really good relationships to other third parties due to their legacy. They have second party studios, all sorts of stuff. And another thing to keep in mind, both the handheld and console teams are on this one system because it is a hybrid system, meaning we have all the teams putting all their eggs into this one basket. Like the Wii U, of course, there were some lacking games because there was no one who really wanted to develop for it, and most of the developers were busy developing stuff for 3DS, so we did get a decent pour of games for that. But now that we have both teams for Switch, then where on earth are these teams? What in God's name are they doing? Where are these games? Like, there's no excuse there should have been a lacking of this many games. And yeah, again, Smash Brothers and stuff like that. But other than Smash, there was no real other big surprises and reveals for this E3. And Mario Party, who cares? It's another Mario Party. Like, I obviously care, and I do like Mario Party, but there's no reason this many games should have been missing. And aside from the missing games, another thing that I want to rant about is the presentation as a whole. Why in God's name did Nintendo even bother labeling this like a big E3 video presentation when half of it was just kind of minor updates on stuff, and the other half was basically carried by Smash? You know what I think the problem is? The Smash segment of this Direct essentially could have been a Smash Brothers Direct, like, on its own. Like, what they should have done is just cut the E3 presentation in half. Heck, I have a feeling that that's originally what was meant to be. Like, originally there was going to be a Smash Direct and a Nintendo E3, but Nintendo realized that their E3 was extremely garbage, so they realized, oh, we need to drag Smash Brothers into this or to carry the show, or else people were just going to think that this E3 was horrible, which it is, because without Smash, without, like, I guess Super Mario Party, there's nothing else here with no substance. Like, yeah, you can argue Fire Emblem, but that got pushed all the way back to 2019, my guy. So there's nothing else. Just a few games that got pushed back that we don't really know much on because they're being super silent on. One game that's like just kind of okay. We do have the new Pokemon games, which is cool and all, but they didn't even reveal anything big about that. And then just Smash. What they should have done is just had a Smash Brothers Direct week before E3, actually given us some updates on these missing games in this Direct, and that's it. Like, even if it was just updates, just show us what you have, my guy. There's no reason that all of these games literally got no mention, nothing. Like, I'm sorry if I'm sounding extremely whiny, extremely, like, bitchy and stuff like that, but I have to, because there's no excuse. There's no excuse that this presentation needed to be missing this much stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so, I guess we're going to the conclusion now. So I guess if I have to rate this E3 as a whole, it was I would give it a C-, but honestly a C- is being extremely generous. Like, the only reason I want to give this Direct a C- is because, essentially Smash itself looked extremely good. Like, Smash by itself was like an A+, A- tier presentation. Like, if Smash had been separated into its own Direct, like it should have been, then it would have gotten a really good score on its own. But because Smash they wanted Smash to kind of carry the show, and they wanted to be able to get away with that, yeah, I don't want to give this show a C-, because without Smash, this show is not C- tier. This is a D+, like, not even passing. This is just coming to E3 with almost little to nothing. Like, this is like 2016, where they essentially came with only one game. But the thing with Breath of the Wild and that E3, at least they straight up told us before the E3 at all, that they weren't having a Direct, that Breath of the Wild was the only game they were bringing. Like, they told us that all in advance. They didn't give us this false hope that we would see a bunch of games at their E3. They told us from the get-go that Breath of the Wild was really all they had to show. So that was way less heartbreaking and way less annoying. But with Smash, they literally kind of just gave us hope that something other than Smash would be at the show, showed little to almost nothing, and yeah, it's extremely ridiculous. This console is very on and off. It has hits that, like Mario Odyssey, like Breath of the Wild, that do really good things, but then they'll have these stupid decisions like relying a bit too much on ports, lacking in new games. Like, stuff like this is going to slow the Switch momentum. You can't just rely on a big game and then run to the next big game. You have to have momentum. I feel like Nintendo is getting a bit too lazy, and we're cutting them a bit too much too slack. Like, I haven't gotten hard onto Nintendo because I've been way too busy going really hard on Sega and Sonic because obviously I care way more about that than I have with Nintendo. My general history with Sonic is way longer, so I ran 10 times harder on Sonic. But maybe I have been lacking a bit on getting on Nintendo's case because there's no excuse for this kind of stuff. There's no reason this presentation had to be as dry as it could have. Like, even if they had just come with updates and didn't really show, like, super deep gameplay, that would have been great. Like, just the announcement of games alone would have been great, like some of the other companies do. Like, granted, I don't like the whole CGI trailer announcement thing either. I definitely do not like that. But that would have been a heck lot better than leaving fans completely in the dark to wonder until the next Nintendo Direct that reveals maybe one or two of these games. So yeah, lots of missing games, very dark path that we're on in terms of Nintendo as a whole right now. We don't know what's going to happen for the rest of this year at all because Nintendo came to this E3 with little to almost nothing. Like, yeah, Smash looks great and I'm super excited for Smash. I'm totally ready to spend my money for that, and I don't have a super big problem with Smash as a whole, which is why I mostly left out the details of it. I plan to talk about it in its own video so I can have Smash be its own vibe. But with the vibe of this Direct, it was just not really good overall. I can't deny that just because I'm a big Smash fan. Like, on my Twitter, I've been talking about Smash nonstop, like, because I'm crazy for Smash. But even though I am a huge diehard Smash Brothers fan, I can't let the dry presentation go because there's plenty of other fans that are getting cucked right now. You have Animal Crossing fans who've been waiting for their next installment for years, but have not gotten a single update. You have Pikmin fans who want a new Pikmin game, and they said that this Pikmin game that they're working on was near completion and have shown nothing. So I guess that was a blatant lie. And all sorts of other examples I'm already mentioned in this video. So yeah, I would have to give Nintendo's overall presence at E3 a very rough C- D+. C- is super generous because as a whole it was very lacking. But they didn't exactly like fail necessarily because they did have Smash. Smash was really good and Mario Party did look really good. But let's be real, this presentation was lacking and there are no loops around that. Alright guys, I'm sorry if I got extremely rant-like and angry sounding towards the end of this review, but it's just extremely frustrating how each year we constantly put all our bags into E3. Like, all the directs that constantly keep disappointing, we're like, oh, just wait until E3. E3 is the time when they show their big games. Then we get to E3, Nintendo underwhelms, and then they're like, oh, we have the Direct. Those are what's going to reveal a few more big games. Like, I'm so tired of Nintendo fans and this stupid backwards mentality. We need to yell at Nintendo to get it together and always have a decent floor quality of games throughout the year. Like, yeah, having a bit more games at E3 will worsen their Nintendo Directs, but that's a heck lot better than having weak Directs, weak E3s all the time and having this slow flow of games. This is the BS that killed the Wii U. This is the BS that killed the Wii U. I'm just going to be upfront. Like, the Switch is doing fine right now. I don't think year 2 as a whole will kill the Nintendo Switch, but it's this stupid flow that damaged the Wii U, and Nintendo needs to get it in together before they suffer the same mistakes. Alright guys, well, I have nothing else to say. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. All that stuff, I just don't have the energy to sound very happy towards the end like I usually do. This is Nux, and I'm out. Goodbye.